All right, so this is a follow-up video to the last video I made, which was my interpretation, my breakdown of what I thought was going on in that AI generated image by Trump that he put out and then, deleted. And that video, it was pressing 20 minutes. I didn't want it to go any further, but there was more important information that I felt needed to go along with it. So I thought I'd make up another video here, just as a follow up video to that video. Because I do think that there's a very important aspect of this whole thing that no one's really considering. At least I haven't heard it, yet. Because there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, breaking down this image and the symbolism that's in it and what it means and, yada, 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 all these things. But at least from what I've seen, I haven't heard anybody really call into question the fact that this was a generated image by AI, meaning that it required a prompt. And so if we take Mr. Trump at his word, he says that, yes, I did it. He generated the image and he put it out. Now, whether that's true or not, who knows? I mean, can we trust him? I think we all know the answer to that now, but regardless, that's what he said. And so if we just take that at the face value, he created it, he put it out, okay, whatever. It required a prompt. And so I think that that's a very interesting thought, because that means that whatever it was that he was trying to portray in that image, he verbalized it, or at the very least textualized it in a format so that it could then prompt the AI to then generate the image. That is a very important element here that we need to keep in mind, because if you have worked at all with AI and giving AI prompts, especially when it comes to designing, images, you have to be pretty specific, or it can get off track rather quickly. And it can take numerous attempts to nail down what it is you're trying to achieve, unless you are very detailed and very specific, and I would even say somewhat experienced and adequate with AI prompts. And so, what does that mean? Well, that means that everything that we see in that image was something that was prompted to the AI to do. Every aspect of that. And so, if that's the case, as per my interpretation of what the image was in the clouds, being Lucifer, and again, this is my interpretation. I didn't generate it. It's not my image, so I can't tell you for sure, but I'm just telling you what I think. And everybody's entitled to their own ideas, obviously. But this one's mine, and I am holding firm to it. And I think when you keep this in mind, it is even that much more profound, because that means that if I am correct, and that is the old light bearer Lucifer in the clouds, well, that means that he had to request that. And so, as you can see, that adds a whole nother element to the conversation, because that means you had to be intentional with exactly what you were trying to achieve with that image. And if that is in fact Lucifer in the clouds, which I, again, believe that it is, and I believe that I showed pretty good evidence that there's a very good chance that it could be, well, then that means he requested that. And I think that that speaks volumes in itself. And so this is interesting to me. This is an interesting element to the whole conversation of this image, because that means that we can take that image and back engineer the prompt. And when you do that, I think that that adds a whole nother interesting element to this whole conversation. And I think even to further drive home my breakdown of that is in this whole idea that it required a prompt and understanding what that means and what that looks like in the background when you ask AI to generate an image. It's basically going out into internet land and looking at all the images of or in its brain or whatever. I don't know exactly how it works, but I know enough about it to know what's actually happening. And it's scanning images. And if I am right, that means that the images that it took, being the Lucifer painting and the Statue of Liberty, that means that it blended those two images based on its what it gathered of uh that request, that prompt, Lucifer, because that's what it would have required. I mean, he would have had to have said, you know, like create Lucifer coming in the clouds, centered as if he's leading an army with soldiers on each side. Make it discreet so that some may see it, but most won't. You know, these are the types of things you would have to tell AI to get it to generate this. But if it went out looking for Lucifer, especially in the most recent images that it would find that painting. It would find that painting, and it would probably also find images of the Statue of Liberty. And again, that crown is a representation. It's symbolic. And so that's a part of it. And so it would have gathered that information as well. And what it would have spit out is that exact image. That exact image. So to me, it just makes it even that much more credible and that much more of a reliable, interpretation of what that was, because that's exactly what it would look like coming from AI. It would go out to the most recent images that it can find of Lucifer, and it would blend them and kick out something that looks exactly like what we see in that image. And so, yeah, I just thought that that was another interesting part to the whole conversation. I didn't have time to get it into the first part of, or into the first video there, but I wanted to make sure that I included it because I feel like it is a very important element to this whole thing. And I haven't really seen anybody mentioning the fact that, to do this, it requires a prompt. And where there's a prompt and an image, that means that image can then be back engineered back into the prompt that it required to generate the image. And so that's a very interesting thought. And just real quick, because I forgot to mention it, but I am by no means an expert with AI. I mean, I can use it. I've used it for thumbnails. I've used it for SEO here on YouTube. So I understand it enough to understand how it works. And I also understand that there are a lot of people out there that have no clue about it. And I mean, that may be hard for the younger generations to realize, but just if you are one of those younger generations, just try and think about how your parents or grandparents fumble around with a smartphone. I mean, there are people out there that definitely have no idea how AI works. And so I think it's important for those people to understand, the basics of how this works. And I think just in knowing that tells us a lot about this situation here with this image and what the president had to say about it. Because when he was questioned about this, his response was, well, I wasn't trying to portray myself as Jesus. I was trying to be a doctor because of the work we do with Red Cross, and I do heal people, is pretty much what he said. And so my whole point is, if you understand AI just a little bit, you will know that it requires a prompt. And in order to get an image nailed down to what you are envisioning, it can either take many attempts at it, or the more detailed you are in your request through the prompt, then that can, ensure that you will get the image that you're looking for in less attempts. The more descriptive you are, the more detailed you are about what it is you're trying to design. And so the thought that that would be his excuse, that he was trying to portray himself a doctor, the whole idea of it being an AI generated image, I think it just blows that whole thing out of the water. I think it's an absolute lie, because if you were to ask AI, make Donald Trump a doctor that's working for the Red Cross and have him bedside healing somebody with other people around the bed and American symbology in the background and, whatever it is coming in the clouds, I don't think what AI would kick out is what we see in that image. Okay. That's not what it would have kicked out, because clearly when you look at that, is that what you think of? Do you think, oh, he's a doctor in this image? Or do you think something else? Well, understanding AI, it's going out and looking at images based on your request, your prompt. And so if you tell it that you want to be a doctor, or to portray someone as a doctor, it is certainly not going to kick out someone looking like Jesus. Okay, that's just not how this thing works. And so I think it's important to understand that. I was focused on the other aspects of this, so I didn't mention it, but I want to make sure I mentioned it for those that really have no idea about AI and how it works. I mean, just understanding it on a fundamental, basic level, that's enough to tell you that his excuse or his reasoning behind that image is absolutely ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, and I think that the reason, again, if you watch the videos, I think the reason that he does this is because he's talking right over the head of a lot of people when he says something ridiculous like that, and they just, okay, they just take it for what he says. But he also knows that there is also a large group of people out there who are hearing and seeing this that know that that is absolutely ridiculous. And so what that is to those people is a slap in the face, okay? And so that's what this was, in my opinion. And yeah, they're in the background laughing the whole way to the bank. And that's crazy. But that's AI, and that's how it works. And so, again, I don't see everything. I see what's in my algorithm. I have yet to see anybody talk about the fact that this was an AI generated image, meaning it required a prompt. And so, yeah, I wanted to make sure that I put this out with that other video, because I do think it adds credence to what I think is going on in that image. You be your own judge. I am by no means saying this is what it is. Okay? For all the keyboard warriors out there, that's not what I'm doing. I'm simply putting out what popped into my mind. And I don't know. Looks and sounds good to me. But you be the judge. Anyway, as always, sorry about your toes. If we stepped on them, bumpers out.